Hello, and welcome to PFH, or Podcast from Home. I'm your host, Teresa Esposito, and I'm here to bring you the latest updates in a soon to be post coronavirus world. We have come a long way since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, and some might argue that we still have a long way to go. However, if there is one fact that we cannot deny, stopping the world as we know it for over a year has changed many of the ways that we operate as a society. How we work has changed dramatically. Same with school or public transportation or in any other place you could possibly think of. Life is different now. And if you're here to try and make sense of the insanity that life is, I have bad news for you because I don't understand it myself. But before I get ahead of myself here, today we're going to focus on how the workforce has changed over the past 2 years. I personally have two jobs. I work in a retail environment for a corporation and as a yoga instructor at a small business. And it is interesting to see how differently the two businesses handled the shutdowns. My primary job, and I hope you can hear the air quotes in my voice, shut down when they were forced to for 3 months. The store associates were all furloughed, meaning that we were eligible for unemployment, but were still guaranteed a job when the store eventually reopened. This basically just bought them the time needed to come up with the COVID protocols that would allow them to reopen, and in June, we returned. The yoga studio, on the other hand, remained in business out of necessity, although we did shift to an entirely virtual format by utilizing Zoom, MindBody, FitDegree, and other fitness-related apps. The studio owners originally intended to return to the physical space, but it ultimately became more financially viable to surrender their lease and rebrand as an entirely virtual studio. So that's what they ended up doing. Now, we could sit here and analyze the trends all day, but the fact is that we are still heavily entrenched in a sort of global adjustment period, and no one is truly sure of where we are going to end up by the end of the pandemic. A recent Gartner poll has shown how work trends have adapted over the past 2 years and has projected that businesses will continue to shift in 9 specific ways. I am only going to focus on the transference to remote working today, but if you would like to read up about the other ways that the workforce might or already has changed, I will include a link to the article down below. For now, I would like to give you a break of listening to my voice and introduce you to two dear friends of mine who work in entirely different career fields and different cities. The first person I'd like you to meet is Ellie Rosen, a senior account executive at VaynerMedia in New York City.
Hey, Teresa. Thanks so much for having me on.
And also joining us today is Christopher Clues, a systems engineer with BAE Systems based out of Mount Laurel, New Jersey.
Hi, Teresa. How's it going?
Thank you both for joining with me today. I have a few questions regarding your careers shift from pre to post coronavirus. But first, how have you been and how has the adjustment been for you?
Awesome. I've been good. I had to think about how this adjustment was since last March when I went from working full time in the office, hustle and bustle of the city every day to kind of just staying inside every day of the week at my parents' place. At first, it was hard getting used to Zoom calls and connecting with my coworkers from New Jersey. But eventually, I started to get settled in, and now I'm in that work from home flow.
Well, it's been a major change in work-life balance. You go from working to live to suddenly you have the ability to live to work. You're able to live more of your life because more time is yours, and that's indispensable. That's the one thing that everybody wants more of in the world is time. So having more of it is exactly what you want in life. So it's been great working from home because it affords you that opportunity.
So what do you think the pros and the cons of this lifestyle are? We'll start with you, Ellie.
That's definitely a great question. And Chris, I fully agree with what you said. I think the pros really are the time that you do get. I get to work and I get to, like, as I've been saying, as long as I have my laptop and internet connection and an outlet to plug into, I'm good to go. I can work from anywhere. I have the time now to kind of like travel around and visit friends and family who I wouldn't otherwise get to see as frequently. So I think like just being able to be home, kind of like be with the dogs while I'm at home and see people who I otherwise wouldn't have gotten to see is really what's one of the strong pros for me of working from home. And then I guess I would say the cons are I miss being able to kind of turn around and see my coworkers right there. I miss being able to, especially when I have important questions to ask them. That was super, super helpful when I could just be like, hey, SOS, let me know the answer to this. What do you think of this? Now everything's a little bit more formal. You have to write it down. And if you have a dumb question, you have to write it down. So that kind of stinks, but definitely been adapting, converting kind of to using some of those voice memo features where I get to send a voice memo to coworkers and they can listen and then respond whenever they get a chance. Yeah, definitely a lot of like strong pros and strong cons.
And Chris, how about you?
Well, pros for work from home are just endless. There's so much to be said about just not having to commute alone, that I save so much money on gas, and the value of the car that I'm not wasting just driving back and forth to work. And for me, it's only a 30-minute commute, but I have coworkers that have an hour and a half commute for some of them. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
3 hours a day that they can reclaim in their lives. That's valuable. So cons, I would say that I have lost some of the drive that I had when I was in the office. You miss out on the lack of, I guess, working out of boredom, in a sense, that like you get to a point in the office where you're so bored that the only thing you can do is your job. So kind of extra stuff like that you do miss out on. Your productivity does go down a little bit from working from home, but as long as all goals are met, that's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree with that too. Sometimes it's like I get those like household chores done that I wouldn't have otherwise gotten to do when I'm in the office. And same thing, I had a brutal commute before into the office and back home. So really the time it has saved has just been like fantastic. And those loads of laundry I get to do during the week are very nice.
So what do you think that the adjustment to returning to work will look like if you or your company ever even intend to return?
That's a great question. The adjustment, I think there's what the adjustment will look like, and then what the adjustment I would prefer to happen.
Okay.
Would be, ideally, I could go in maybe when there's a client meeting or an important workshop or presentation, maybe like once or twice a month, once a week at most, and kind of just going in just for like really collaborative experiences where you show up, you're not even at your laptop all day. You're kind of like in person thinking together for a brainstorm. You're working as a team, you're coming up with creative ideas, having brainstorming workshops. And we do miss out on being able to kind of like write our ideas down on post-its and like stick them up all over the wall. We're missing out on that in-person kind of function there in the Zoom calls, but it was really great to be in those brainstorms together. I think, and I hope that for the rest of my career, I never have to go, commute to any sort of office, no matter how close or how far, sit there, headphones in all day, just at my laptop by myself, because that we have proven that we can be productive and that we can be successful. We can be still driving revenue for the business, still keeping clients happy, still collaborating with our teams across the board while we're digital and virtual. So I do think this adjustment period, as things start to go in, I think it's going to be slow. And yeah, so I hope that for me, it's a little bit less intense of going in all the time. And I think it's more for like those important client meetings.
Okay, cool.
Well, we are currently in hybrid work. We are required 3 days a week to be in the office, at least in some capacity. And so that includes time spent between different offices or different sites. And even if you only spend 4 hours in the office for a day, you met your quota and you're allowed to leave. And I don't think anybody's too fond of that either, but I do think that that is a step that they're taking forward in order to get us back in the office full time. I'm pretty sure everybody's in the same boat as me. All my coworkers would agree that we would rather work a hybrid shift, go into the office when we need to do testing, but stay home when we don't. But I don't think that's the way management wants to run things from now on. They're going to keep in line with the government, and the government wants to go back to work full time. So I think, as of the end of January is when we're going back to the office full time. And to meet that deadline, they actually have the mandate that Joe Biden had put down, that by January 4th, all employees need to be vaccinated or they will be terminated. And that is for all Department of Defense jobs and all contractors and everything. So we have, as far as I'm aware, everyone in my office has been vaccinated. Everyone with all of the companies that I work with as well, they've all been vaccinated. So I guess you can kind of rest assured that if they haven't, then they won't be employed with the company and you won't have to interact with them on a daily basis, which is reassuring, seeing as we're going to go back full time.
Well, that leaves us with a lot to think about. Thank you both for meeting with me today, and I wish you luck with all of your future endeavors.
Awesome.
you.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you guys. That is it for this episode of PFH. I'm Teresa Esposito, and I would like to thank you all for spending time with me today.